Welcome to the Philadelphia Museum of Art Contemporary Craft Show Artist Talk with wood artist Philip Roberts. Philip, I'm so excited that you're joining us today to talk about your craft. So first, before we dive into hopefully a little bit of a studio tour and your process, where are you joining us from?
Well, thank you. Yes, I am Philip Roberts. I'm joining you from my studio in New Jersey. I'm about 40 minutes from Philadelphia, so it's an easy commute to the Philadelphia Museum of Art show, and I'm excited to be here. So you want the tour? Is that what's going on?
Would love the tour.
So we make multi-layered wood art. That's the whole thing. And we did do stuff from large scale to this to smaller stuff like this, and we even go as small as little stickers. And our whole objective is to make things that are remarkable. That's a high standard, but we do it through 3 ways that I'll show you through the studio, which is we use technology as a time-saving device and then try to reinvest that time that we save into making more complex designs and better design and produce a better physical product. So it's all about technology, good design, which that's for the customer to decide whether or not they actually buy, and then a quality physical product, which seems obvious, but in the way we demand products as Americans, it's generally like, I want everything the cheapest I possibly can. So we have created a market of like really low quality products, physical products, but it might look cool. So we're like, that's fine. Where we really strive to be putting out a really solid physical product. And I'll show you the whole thing. So this is all stuff I can talk to you about in the booth. So we might as well show you some stuff that you can't see in the booth. And everyone's favorite is usually the laser cutters. So unless you have any other questions, I will take you there. Now, forgive me at the beginning or throughout this whole thing. I'm going to be shuffling the camera around and stuff. Doing tours in the studio is hard enough, but I've never done it with a camera. So here we go. We have 2 of these machines that are identical, and we cut most of our work on these guys. Most of our work is between or less than 4 feet wide. So anything larger than 4 feet wide, we use a larger machine that I'll show you in a minute. But right now, this guy is in the middle of a cut of Ezra. It's a new design. However, you know what, just for fun, because you have Zephyr in the background there, we're cutting one right now. Let's see if I can show you this. I'm actually going to put you guys in the machine and let it run for a bit. Make some noise. Hopefully we don't mess anything up. Can you hear all right if I keep talking?
I can.
Okay, so the way this works is you're basically cutting really thin plywood. Each 12-layer design is made of 12 layers of really thin plywood. The way we cut it was this concentrated light. So anyone that's familiar with laser cutters knows this, but we've got a tube that creates a laser somehow. I'm not sure how, it's been explained to me. But it bounces off a bunch of mirrors, and then there's basically a magnifying glass right at the end here. And what that does is it concentrates the light into a really, really fine point. Concentrates that energy. And if all the optics are clean and perfect, and everything is focused at the right depth, it'll actually cut through. And if it cuts through really well, then we're happy. If it doesn't, we've got a lot of problems to fix. Laser cutters are pretty finicky. It takes a lot to get them going and keep them going. But it's been about 6 years now. We're getting the hang of it. So if everything goes really well, parts pop out easily. Any laser cutters out there, people that work with laser cutters will know this is not always the case. But in terms of creating a good physical product, you'll notice that it's white, and we work with wood. So the reason it's white is we actually cover the entire thing with a masking tape. It's like basically a normal roll masking tape stretched that 4 feet wide, and we cover the entire thing. What that does is, I'll see if I can show you here. Yeah, you'll see all that burning, that brown. It's disgusting. It's gross. Completely unacceptable. So what we do is we cover the whole thing in masking tape, and I'll show you that in a minute here. And then we try to take all that burn off with the tape. So all that burn that's coming from, we're cutting wood with fire basically, so we're creating a lot of smoke. We're trying to take all of that off with the masking tape, because then what happens is we're left with a super clean edge, and we don't have to go back and sand it. So that's the objective. So in terms of having a good final product, if you've ever been to like a craft fair or something and you see laser cut products and it's got all that brown kind of haze on it, unacceptable. Don't buy that stuff. But all that takes a lot of time, all that peeling and everything. But I'll show you how we do it. So that's the laser cutter. If everything goes well, comes out really nicely. And show you, this is a piece we have. It's called Demure. I'm gonna see if I can switch over to the other camera. I think it's working by now. No, bummer. And you can see, I'll try to get you close since we can't get the other camera. This is actually one of the only designs we have that uses white paint instead of stain. So that's even makes the burning even worse. And the whole reason I'm showing you this or going into such detail about just this stupid masking is that to make a good final product, you just have to do every single step slowly and really well. See how it changes it from, imagine if that was our white layer, that'd be gross. And then you peel it off, you've got that bright, vibrant color that's gonna pop inside the design.
And so just a question, when you're working, some of your pieces, they have like this one has multiple colors. Are you adding that before you go into and cut, or is that happening?
So there's that white layer. Anytime that we can, we try to do our color ahead of time. So the reason is the pieces are super fragile when they come out of the machine. So when you get the final product, it should feel like a solid block. I'll grab one for you. It should feel like a solid block. This again is that Zephyr that's in your background. But until that point, the layers are really fragile because they are not supported by anything. So here's an example of, you can hardly see it. So this is a single layer before it's put together. And the trouble we have is even the strength of the adhesive of pulling that masking tape off sometimes is enough to break it. So like the worst thing that can happen is just like falls apart. Don't worry, that was already messed up one. But when you spend that much time on a piece and then have that happen, it's quite discouraging. You'll see here, getting back to your question. So these are actually Ezra pieces that we're making. Because there's so many different colors in the final Ezra piece, and we like to do the coloring beforehand, we have to cut a bunch of each layer individually. So like, these are all layer ones that we have. So we'll actually create a whole bunch before we ever start gluing. We'll prep all these individually, and it comes back to, again, time saving, and then reinvesting that time into making a better product, a more complex design, making a better process. So one thing that I could talk about for like years is process design, which is probably what I like most about this, is if you save time, you can reinvest that time to making a better product and a better process. So it's like a snowball effect. Every day you make an improvement and you spend less time fighting with process, and it's smooth and it's fun, it's safer, and you can just do so much more if every single day your process is getting better and faster. So we spend a lot of time on it. Any other questions before I move on?
I do. I have a question. What made you you said 12 layers. Why 12? Why is that the magic number?
That's a great question. I wish I had a better answer besides I've gone way further and found that it's like diminishing returns. So you do an incredible amount of work and even in 12 layers, sometimes you can lose detail to like a detail in the background might not show up at all. So like I'm viewing everything on the computer, which I'll show you in a minute, as a flat image. I'm not using like a 3D program. I'm just designing 12 flat images. So on the computer screen, it might be like, this is perfect. I'm really excited about this design element. And then you cut it and you put it all together and you can't even see it. It's just too dark. And you have to bring those design elements forward. So I just over 12, it just seemed like I couldn't do anything in the bottom 4 or 5 layers. So it seemed to be a good spot for that. And our really small pieces are 8 layers because it's the same problem. You have so much detail in such a small spot. There's no point in doing that if you can't see it.
That makes sense. And so now that kind of leads me to where I think you're going with the computer and showing the design about, you mentioned it was that you do it all as one. So I'm curious how you build that from the start. And
yeah. So, real quick. So going back to like making improvements and stuff, I have to show this because this is just a perfect example. So if you improve the process, you can spend more time on making good art, and you can spend more time on improving the process again and again and again. And this is just a small example. So this is our masking tape applicator that we built ourselves. And all it is we push in our material as pre-stained. Paul was just working on this. Oh, I have 2 people that help me and they're awesome. It comes out the other side perfectly flat, no bubbles, no creases. And it has to be that way. Otherwise it'll cut even worse than no tape. But it's so fast. You shove it in, you pull it out, put it in the laser, and you don't spend time fussing. You don't want to fuss with it. All right, yeah, so I'll share my screen. And you can see just how boring the actual design process is. It's way less fun than a shop tour, but it's important. But in terms of improving the design process, this is what I design on. This is just a drawing tablet that my computer slides into, and it's like a briefcase, so I can take it anywhere. But it's got all my macros for doing commands and everything set up. So just like in the wood shop, how we have to improve every single process. If I'm designing something that's got 12,000 parts on it, you're doing a lot of repetitive things. And just like in the wood shop, making improvements is important. You have to do your digital workflow the same way. So if you spend all your whole time fussing with the technology, 1, it's not going to be fun. And 2, you can't do as much in a short time. We only have so many hours in the day. So it's the same thing. But yeah, I can show you real quick. I'll share my screen. You guys can tell me if it works. So this is a design called Silence. And this is how it looks when I'm actually designing the work in real time. It's very slow, very monotonous. And I will, while that's playing, very quickly grab the design. Now, let's just see. But you can see on the right-hand side, I guess I have an arrow I can show you. These are all my layers. So you can see this layer, this design is made of 8 layers. And then the only way I can visualize, I'll go back a little bit. The only way I can visualize the different layers is just I just put different colors on them. And that's it. So you can see it's just a 2-dimensional interface here. So yeah, it's slow, but when you go to 4 feet by 8 feet, it just takes months. So then this is me actually working on the tablet that I showed you here. And all the keys at the top are all programmed for the most common actions that I do. And then all the knobs on the right that are colored, all these guys, they all also do actions. Anything from views to workflow setups. It's a whole mess. I should really create a whole class so people can do the same thing. But yeah, that's our whole thing. Use technology as a time-saving device, reinvest that time into making a better, more complex design and a better physical product. And use that time that you saved to just keep rolling. So it's fun.
it's fun and it's gorgeous. And I'm a huge fan, and I really think that everyone should come visit your booth. We are just about at time, so I didn't know if you had anything else you wanted to share in advance of the
no, once I hang up here, I'll have lots of things that I will remember I should have shared. But I really appreciate you having me on here, and I'm honored that you would come visit my studio. And yeah, I'm excited about the show. It should be fun. It's always fun.
Well, no, and thanks to you. And so thank you, Philip Roberts, and for sharing your mesmerizing work. And you can see his work at the Philadelphia Museum of Art Contemporary Craft Show at the Pennsylvania Convention Center in Exhibit Hall F. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.